UFC 319 is finally here, or is it? Caio Borralho is coming out and letting the fans know that the UFC reached out to him in panic mode. Yes, he emphasized that it was an emergency, that they reached out to him, letting him know that they needed a backup for UFC 319 ASAP. What does that mean? I am praying and hoping that it's just Arman Tsarukyan gave the UFC so much PTSD that they are never going to go in to a big pay-per-view card of this caliber without a backup. They just can't. They can't afford to do something like that, especially on that new Paramount Plus deal, man. 7.7 billion. We're not talking little racks no more. But there is potential for this main event to get canceled. Unfortunately, that is the case. I am very, very pissed about it. I'm livid. We are literally 3 days away from seeing one of the most historic fights ever. And now I have to hear Caio Borralho hopefully start dropping a rumor that they need a backup. But something tells me it might not be a rumor, man. Ugh. Anyways, pending any sort of cancellations, BS, and there is one more Ultimate Fighter fight that has to get added to the prelims. I don't know who's fighting who. I haven't kept up the latest seasons of Ultimate Fighter, so maybe we'll break that down later on once it gets closer to the card and we figure out weigh-ins and all that good stuff. But pending any sort of cancellations, this is it. Everyone highlighted in red is going to be my pick. All the matchups are already listed on the right side of the screen there. If you just so happen to be colorblind, by the way, and don't understand which one's my pick, it's going to be the fighters to the right side of the versus symbol. It's Khamzat Chimaev, Lerone Murphy, Carlos Prates, and so on and so forth. Let me just say, this is a banger pay-per-view card. But without the cake, without the main event, what is icing? Okay, what is the icing without the cake? It's nothing. Okay, the cake can stand alone by itself. Okay, the cake is more than capable of doing its thing without the icing. But what the fuck is the icing without the cake? It's just icing. It's just icing. Oh my goodness, man. No, I'm not tweaking. I'm fine. I'm not tweaking. I'm fine. There is a favorite pick section right underneath all my picks there. What does that entail? Those are 3 fighters that I pick every single week that I believe are going into their fight with some sort of advantage. Whether they are the better striker, the better grappler, their cardio is just way better than their opponents, and I think they're going to weaponize that. Something is leaning me and leading me and gravitating me toward picking that specific fighter in that specific fight, so I'm going to throw them in the favorite pick section. Sometimes it's dogs, sometimes it's chalk, sometimes it's a little bit of both, just like this week. We got Lerone Murphy barking down there as a dog, and then we got Kai Asakura and Chase Hooper. A little bit of a heavier favorite section there, but nonetheless, we got some dog money. We got some good matchups to break down. Let's get right into breaking down UFC 319. Dricus Du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev comes down to one big thing, and that is Khamzat Chimaev is going to come in here, I believe, as the much more improved fighter from his last performance. How do you get much more improved than breaking Robert Whittaker's jaw in the first round? I'm not sure. But let me just say for the record, I don't think Khamzat Chimaev's cardio is going to give him trouble in this fight. I don't think he should have an issue finishing Dricus Du Plessis within 3 rounds. But even if he doesn't finish Dricus within the first 3 rounds, he's going to win those rounds pretty comfortably. And it'll just be a matter of him surviving the 4th and the 5th, which I don't think Dricus is going to get Khamzat Chimaev out of there. I just don't. Khamzat Chimaev, think about it this way. Up until his previous fight, or the fight before that, has never taken his nutrition as seriously as he should. His cardio has never been as good as it has now. And he's never taken his training, his mixed martial arts training, his UFC career as seriously as some of these other champions have. And now that he's starting to do that, he's starting to take his nutrition serious. He's starting to actually allow his body to recover. He's not overtraining. He's surrounding himself with good training partners, with good coaches, with good people that know what they're doing and can teach him. Okay? That scares me. That actually terrifies me, bro. For Dricus Du Plessis, how in the world are you going to come in here and fade Khamzat Chimaev after hearing that? Khamzat, not only is he going to come in here as the way better fighter, his grappling previous to him even improving it now is way better than DDP's, and his striking is good enough and technical enough to hold his own on the feet. Okay, DDP is not some insane striker, bro. He's super unorthodox. He's crazy. He's hard to read. But I don't think his Toon Force is going to allow him to beat a guy like Khamzat Chimaev, bro. I just don't. A unanimous decision over a guy like Sean Strickland is not the same as literally going in there and tearing Robert Whittaker's jaw apart. Okay, going in there and whooping a guy like Kamaru Usman, and albeit, you know, it was on short notice. Kamaru Usman, you know, prepared only so much for that fight, but dude, dog, I don't even think Kamaru Usman would lose to Sean Strickland short notice. I think if Sean Strickland was put in the same position as that Khamzat Chimaev fight, I bet you Kamaru Usman would probably go in there and beat Sean Strickland. I have this weird feeling that he would. And Khamzat Chimaev, without any issues at all, beat him unanimously all 3 rounds. I think there was even a 10-8 that got snuck in there. Dude, Khamzat Chimaev is built different. He's going to come in here much more improved, much more ready to take on a guy like Dricus Du Plessis, and I don't think the Toon Force is going to allow Dricus to win this one. Give me Khamzat Chimaev by a early submission, and if he doesn't get that submission, I'm still fine with taking Khamzat Chimaev by decision. I still think he can eke out those last few rounds, not get finished, and win this fight at least 48-47 and new Khamzat Chimaev, middleweight champion of the world. Let's get it. Aaron Pico versus Lerone Murphy. I think Lerone Murphy is going to come in here the better striker. Although Aaron Pico does have a lot of power in those hands, I think Lerone's going to be more technical, and I think he's going to be able to keep this fight on the feet. And even if Aaron Pico takes it to the ground, I don't see Lerone Murphy having trouble getting back up. Okay, and I could see Lerone Murphy sneaking in a takedown or two here and there to kind of throw Pico off in this fight. I think Lerone Murphy is just going to be the better striker. He's going to keep it on the feet more, and I think he's just going to pick Aaron Pico apart. Never again am I entrusting a Bellator, PFL Bellator, I don't care how many 3-division championship belts you have held at the same exact time. I don't care if you are a 6-division champion from PFL. I am never, ever, ever fading a UFC guy against someone outside of the organization ever again. These PFL guys, these Bellator guys, they're always coming over to the UFC. And what do we see time and time again? That the UFC is the pinnacle of the sport. That the UFC is the best of the best. The best fighters are fighting at the top of the sport. And there's huge gaps between the two. Massive gaps. I'm talking not some little shit. I'm talking massive gaps. Like, we have champions coming over from Bellator and losing to guys that have won UFC fights via cage and clinch time, bro. Holding guys up against the fence and doing literally nothing. And they lose to these guys, bro. 20-fight win streak. 10 submissions in a row. And then they come over to the UFC and look like shit. Okay? There's no other word to put it but shit. Horse shit, if you may. I'm not backing these guys. What gives me confidence in Lerone Murphy, too, is, like I said, he's a much more technical striker. He's a little bit quicker on the feet, and I think his takedown defense is going to be more than capable of allowing him to keep this on the feet. Maybe Aaron Pico drops a big bomb in there and kind of scares us into thinking that Lerone Murphy might lose, but, dude, after seeing Lerone Murphy's comeback against Edson Barboza, Lerone Murphy is a dog, bro. And Aaron Pico is going to bring out the dog in this guy. This is going to be a banger. It's going to be fireworks. And it's going to ultimately be Lerone Murphy finding a way to win this fight. I don't think he's knocking Aaron Pico out. Aaron Pico is a little susceptible to getting KO'd, but I don't think Lerone Murphy is going to be the guy to knock him out. Lerone should win a unanimous decision. 29-28 if Pico lands a big shot, 30-27 if he doesn't. Give me Lerone Murphy by decision. Geoff Hands of Steel Neal versus Carlos Prates. I got Carlos Prates in this matchup. I think Carlos is going to be lengthier, and he's going to be able to land power shots on a guy like Geoff Neal, who's not trying to actively take him down and grab his back. Okay, Ian Gary was literally the worst matchup for Carlos Prates possible. a guy that's going to try and pick you apart, take you down, mix up the whole entire mixed martial arts game plan. Geoff Neal is going to trade with Carlos Prates, okay? Geoff Neal is going to stand and bang. He might try and incorporate takedowns here and there, but it's going to be a completely different style of fight versus Ian Garry, who's always on his foot, trying to move, trying to evade these strikes. Geoff Neal is going to go in there and box with Carlos Prates. And if that's the case, I favor Carlos Prates to beat Geoff Neal 8 out of 10 times. Geoff Neal is good. He's got power in his hands, but I don't think it's going to be enough to beat a guy like Carlos Prates. Give me Carlos Prates to come in here and beat Geoff Neal via late third round TKO. I think Carlos Prates, if he puts the pressure on him early in those first 2 rounds, he could slow Geoff down a little bit, and then that third round, if he comes out like a madman, like he did in that 5th round against Ian Garry, Carlos Prates is finding a finish. Nonetheless, though, I'm pretty confident he will beat Geoff Neal. Give me Prates to win this fight by either KO or decision. Jared Cannonier versus Michael Venom Page. I think MVP is going to win this fight pretty convincingly, and I see it going very similar to how MVP versus Kevin Holland went. I can see Michael Venom Page staying on the outside, keeping his range and distance from Jared Cannonier, not allowing Cannonier to get close to land anything of significance. And I see MVP just kind of touching him up to a unanimous decision. Do I see this fight going to the ground at all? Maybe if Jared Cannonier tries to shoot, if he gets a little frustrated, kind of like Kevin Holland did, and tries to switch up the game plan a little, I could see this fight drop to the ground for a few seconds, but I don't think it's going to be there for too long. And I ultimately think MVP is going to win this fight pretty convincingly. Like I said, I think he's going to touch Jared Cannonier up on the outside. He's not going to allow Jared Cannonier to land as much, if anything, of significance. And I think that's going to lead to a decision win. Give me Michael Venom Page to win this fight via unanimous decision. Tim Elliott versus Kai Asakura. I have Kai Asakura to win this fight pretty convincingly. I believe he might even get a TKO or a KO over Tim Elliott. The grappling in this fight is not concerning to me at all. I understand that Kai Asakura is coming off a rough submission loss, but that is to the champion, to the best flyweight in the world, the pound-for-pound best flyweight and one of the pound-for-pound fighters in the entire world, Alexandre Pantoja. A loss to that guy, that's not even a loss, okay? The longer you survive, the more of a win that is for you. Yeah, I wouldn't even consider that's like losing to John Jones in his prime. It's not that bad, okay? Pantoja is a monster. Kai should be able to come in here. He should be able to keep this fight on the feet. And like I said, the longer it is on the feet, the more I favor him to get the KO over a guy like Tim Elliott. I don't think Tim Elliott is going to present any sort of danger on the feet. I don't think Tim Elliott is going to be able to take him down. And even if he does take him down, I don't think Tim Elliott is going to do anywhere near as much damage and as much work on the ground as a guy like Pantoja. Give me Kai to win this fight pretty convincingly by TKO over my boy Tim Elliott. Sucks to fade Tim Elliott because I've been seeing a lot of people all over him as a dog this week. But I just don't think he can get it done, man. I don't think he has the grappling to get it done. I don't think he has the striking to outstrike Kai Asakura. And I see this fight, like I said, staying on the feet longer than it even goes to the ground. I don't even think it's going to go to the ground, bro, to be honest with you. But if it does, it's not going to be on the ground for long. Give me Kai Asakura to knock Tim Elliott out. That's it for the main card. We're going to move on to the prelims and the early prelims. Rapid fire through these pretty quickly. King Green is taking on Diego Ferreira. Both of these guys are very chinny, very susceptible to getting KO'd. I think Diego Ferreira is going to carry just a little bit more power in this matchup, do a little bit more damage over the course of 3 rounds, and ultimately beat King Green via decision. I think both of these guys are pretty even in the grappling. And like I said, Diego's going to carry a little bit more power, which is ultimately going to lead to him doing a little bit more damage over the course of 3 rounds. Give me Diego Ferreira by decision. Gerald Meerschaert and Michał Oleksiejczuk. I'm taking Michał to win this fight via knockout. I don't think Gerald has it anymore, bro. I think he's too old, and I don't think he has enough wrestling to take Michał to the ground. Yes, Gerald Meerschaert could absolutely pull off a submission, but is he going to take it to the ground? I don't think so. I think Michał is going to keep it standing on the feet, and I think he's going to find the KO shot. Give me Michał Oleksiejczuk by knockout. Jéssica Andrade and Godinez. I'm not breaking this one down. I'm taking Lupi. I'm banking on her just wrestling this fight. Alexander Hernandez and Chase Hooper. A lot of people have been on the dog Alexander Hernandez. I just don't think he has enough power to knock Chase Hooper out. And I think Chase Hooper is going to be significantly better in the grappling side of things. I see him taking Alexander Hernandez down. I see him controlling Alexander Hernandez, either taking some sort of dominant mount position or just snagging Alexander Hernandez's back for at least 2 of the 3 rounds. I see Chase Hooper just controlling this fight, dominating it in the grappling, you know, landing some pitter-patter strikes here and there to give the judges the impression that he's doing damage and ultimately beating Alexander Hernandez via decision. Drakkar, Klose, and Edson Barboza, another very close fight. We got 2 savvy veterans, 2 old heads of the game going at it. I think Edson Barboza is going to carry a little bit more power in this matchup as well. Drakkar, Klose, the only real way I see him winning this fight is maybe he clinches and holds on to Edson Barboza just enough to get that Jose Aldo-esque, you know, robbery. Not Jose Aldo, Mario Bautista-esque robbery over Jose Aldo. Still, to this day, I believe it's a robbery. Whatever you want to say it, but I don't know. But it just gives me that kind of vibes. Either Edson Barboza is going to win this fight or Drakkar Klose is going to get a robbery and win it. Nursulton, Ruziboev, and Bryan battle. See, here's the thing about Bryan battle and his clinch and control. He actually does damage while he implements his clinch game. He's very dominant in the clinch game, and I don't think Nursulton Ruziboev is going to be able to do anything in this fight. I think Bryan battle is going to keep it close. I think Bryan battle is going to keep it on the feet. I don't see Nursulton taking him down. I don't see Nursulton overwhelming a guy like Bryan battle. Bryan battle's cardio is just too good. And I think ultimately Bryan battle is going to win a close decision. I do believe Nursulton Ruziboev is going to land a big shot in there one way or another eventually in the fight, but I don't think it's going to be enough to win him the fight. I think it's just going to be enough to win a round potentially. Give me Bryan battle by unanimous decision. Deani Barboza and Karine Silva. I'm not breaking this one down either. I'm taking Karine Silva just because I like her a little bit better. I think she's the, you know, the higher ceiling prospect, okay? Let's just say that. Karine Silva has potential to be good in this division, and I think she's going to end up winning this fight. Joseph, Marias, and Alibi. I'm taking Alibi. I'm taking Alibi to win this fight. I haven't really watched too many of the Ultimate Fighter matchups, but something tells me that if you are a 2-time returner to the UFC, there was clearly something wrong that first time you came, and now that you're out of your prime, returning to the UFC, I highly doubt you're going to do much better. I mean, maybe a little bit better, but I'm banking on Alibi to come in here as the fresher prospect, the fresher guy to the UFC, and just get the win, man. He's got good grappling. He's got really good striking. He's way quicker. He's got, you know, that jitter, that quick step. And I think that's ultimately going to win him a close, I will say it's going to be a close decision, but I think Alibi is going to win the decision regardless. And then there is one more matchup. I'll probably drop that later on in the week, you know, individually. But let's go over my favorite pick section real quick. Lerone Murphy. I love Lerone Murphy. I love the fact that he's going up against a guy outside of the UFC. These guys that are coming in just don't understand what it takes to be a UFC fighter versus a Bellator fighter, okay, versus a PFL fighter. The level of competition is insanely different, okay? The bottom of the barrel guys in the UFC, I would argue, are more than likely going to beat most of the guys in like the top 15, top 20 of PFL, Bellator, all this. Maybe the champions are a different exception. They could beat, you know, the lower tier guys in the UFC, but I'm telling you right now, when you have a top 5, top 10 guy in the UFC going up against a guy of the same caliber with Bellator, you know, a top 5, top 10 guy in Bellator, the UFC guy is going to smoke him. I don't care if the Bellator guy is a champion or not. Any top 10 UFC fighter right now is more than likely going to beat a Bellator champion. You have maybe occasionally a few guys that might not make the cut, but the UFC is the pinnacle of this sport. Lerone Murphy, aside from just being the UFC fighter and having that advantage, I think he's going to go in there. I think he's going to keep the fight on the feet. He's going to be the quicker and more technical striker. And aside from Aaron Pico maybe landing a big shot on the feet, I just don't see him winning any of these rounds, let alone the fight. Give me Lerone Murphy by unanimous decision. Kai Asakura versus Tim Elliott. Kai should smoke him. I mean, the difference in terms of the striking is going to be very evident. I don't think Kai's going to have any trouble with Tim Elliott's ground game. This is not Alejandro Pantoja. As much as people want to sit here and say, man, Tim Elliott's the dog of the week, man. He's going to be barking up the tree. I think he's barking up the wrong tree, man. Kai Asakura should go in there. He should keep this fight on the feet. He should be way quicker than Tim Elliott on the feet. He should be way stronger. He should have way more power. And I think he's ultimately going to find a KO over Tim Elliott. And Chase Hooper, my final lock, my final favorite pick, not lock. Let me reiterate that. A lot of people think these are locks. I want to consider them locks, but I don't want to call them locks because I know everyone's going to come flaming me for missing a lock. So these are my favorite picks. Let me reiterate. Favorite pick section, not locks, favorite picks. Chase Hooper is the final guy on the list. I think he's just going to come in here with a significantly better grappling advantage than Alexander Hernandez. I'm also banking on Chase Hooper having phenomenal fight IQ in this fight. Alexander Hernandez has shown that he can tend to throw his brain out the window, you know, a few times in the fight, make some silly mistakes that cost him wins. And that is not something you want to do against a guy like Chase Hooper, okay? As soon as Chase Hooper sees and jumps on a little mistake, he's going to capitalize on it completely, and he may even find a finish. But I think Alexander Hernandez is going to be able to stay safe for the most part. It's just going to be a dominant masterclass in the grappling by Chase Hooper. And I can honestly see him getting the best of Alexander Hernandez once he implements that grappling. I can see him kind of getting the best of Alexander Hernandez on the feet too. So don't be surprised if Chase Hooper lands some big bombs on the feet. Guys, thank you so much for watching the UFC 319 breakdown. If you stayed all the way until the end of the video, thank you, thank you, thank you. Don't forget to drop down, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and make sure to comment down there which fight you disagree with. Sway me in the right direction. That way I'm not missing picks on fight night, because these are not final. These are not final. They usually are final, but sometimes stuff switches around, matchups get changed, people miss weight, people get sick. You know, everything happens, and it gets kind of hectic. So and weigh-ins too. I mean, I got to see what the fighters are looking like on the scale in order to confirm my picks, but my final picks will be in my live stream. I will be live for the entire card. Come say what's up on Saturday night, and I will see you guys then. Take care. Deuces.